Hello everyone, this is DomeNation, I'm Shey, and today I'm bringing you a guide for Mythic Ursoc. This fight is pretty straightforward. The only difference between Mythic and Heroic is that the Roaring Cacophonies spawn a Nightmare image. The ideal team comp for this fight is 2 tanks, 4 healers, 8 melee, and 6 ranged DPS. Divide the raid into 2 groups, ranged and melee. It's important that these groups remain stacked with each other and do not get near the other group. The first ability the boss will use is Roaring Cacophony. Ursoc will roar, dealing high raid damage split evenly among all players within 25 yards, as well as dropping a large pool of miasma on the ground. The damage from Roaring Cacophony increases as the fight progresses. It is important that all players stack in Roaring Cacophony, or some players will most likely die. Every second Roaring Cacophony will also spawn a Nightmare image. The image should simply be cleaved down with a boss. When the Nightmare image dies, it will also drop a pool of miasma. Whenever the boss casts Roaring Cacophony, every player within 20 yards of the Nightmare image, or any player standing in the miasma dropped by the Nightmare image, will be feared for 6 seconds. It is important that you cleave down the Nightmare image before the next Roaring Cacophony. After every 2 Roaring Cacophonies, Ursoc will target a player with Focusing Gaze. 6 seconds after being targeted, Ursoc will charge the targeted player, hitting them with Trampling Slam. Upon reaching the marked target, Ursoc will also deal high damage to all players. This damage is reduced by each member that Ursoc charges through, as well as the amount of distance the targeted player places between themselves and the boss. This is why the raid is divided into 2 groups. You will alternate between the melee and ranged group soaking the charge. No player can soak the charge 2 times in a row due to the momentum debuff. In order to decide which group soaks the charge, simply have the player targeted with Focusing Gaze run behind the desired soak group. As the fight progresses, you will constantly move the boss around the room to keep him out of miasma. Try to move the boss as little as possible though, as you can run out of room. My guild runs the boss clockwise, and we stack melee group around the 3 o'clock position and the range group around the 6 o'clock position, making sure both groups stay in melee range to soak the roars. The boss will enrage at 30%, increasing damage dealt by 25%. The entire raid should use defensive cooldowns, and you must kill the boss quickly after entering this phase or you will wipe. The hard enrage on this fight is also very tight at only 5 minutes. The tank mechanics in this fight are pretty straightforward, but a single mistake will probably kill the tank and wipe the raid. Ursoc gives the tanks 2 debuffs, Overwhelm and Rend Flesh. It is important that each tank only has one of these debuffs at a time, having both at once will most likely kill you. Ursoc will first cast Overwhelm on the tank. Once Ursoc starts casting Rend Flesh, the second tank must taunt off to get the debuff. As soon as Rend Flesh goes out, the first tank with Overwhelm must taunt back. The first tank will then get a second stack of Overwhelm. The second tank should then taunt the boss to prevent the first tank from getting a third stack of Overwhelm. The order of debuffs will be Overwhelm, Rend Flesh, Overwhelm, Overwhelm, Rend Flesh, Overwhelm, etc. Earlier in the guide I stated that all Roaring Cacophonies must be soaked by all members, but the first few roars deal a low enough damage that it is worth range not soaking them for the increased DPS. If the ranged group starts on the location I've marked, then they can stack there for the first minute of the fight. You should have the melee group soak the first charge. If you're using this strategy, then I suggest using less at the start of the fight, otherwise save it for the enrage at 30%. That's all for this fight. If you have any suggestions for future content, please drop a comment down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Thanks for watching.